Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about forgiveness, and I'm going to be talking about just many things that are connected with this. And I think the first thing I want to get on as far as forgiveness goes, well, forgiveness is defined according to the Merriam-Webster um, online website. I'm going to read it here. I have some notes I'm going to look at here occasionally now. It says to stop feeling angry toward, or anger toward, I'm sorry. It says to stop feeling anger toward. And it's about not having animosity towards somebody that may have done you wrong. And I understand a lot of that. It sounds like it's easier said than done, but it's important and essential to try to do this and to be merciful. Sometimes you got to remember too, if you hold some kind of revenge on, or you want to plot revenge on someone, for example, that did you wrong, a lot of times this could be connected with something illegal, and you certainly don't want to go to jail, and that person is not worth your time in jail. Another thing too is that it can cause physiological, I guess you could say, physiological problems, and it can increase the stress level. It can lead to heart disease. It can really, it can create chemical changes in the body that can make you literally physically sick. And it could also lead to high blood pressure, elevated blood pressure, physical confrontations because of the anger that could be in you because of this. It could impact your relationships and those with others that have, in many instances, had no connection with you being angry. They weren't, most of the people in the relationships that it may impact adversely, though many of those people may not have even been related to the reason that you were angry, and it's not even the person that you're really angry with because of what was done wrong to you. So it's really important. What really, I went on some website and it stated that the best form of revenge really is about the forgiveness. And I think a lot of times what happens is, what people don't realize is that if somebody does something wrong to us, and if we let that anger linger, that's connected with that iniquitous act, that thing that was done wrong to us, a lot of times, in a way, that person is emerging victorious because he or she is allowing you to be angry. And what happens is you're staying so mad about something that happened to you, and that person just moves right along, continues to live his or her life as if nothing happened, and could, in many instances, could care less as far as what how you reacted, and the person might even revel in the fact that he or she did something to make you angry. Maybe in some instances, there might be certain things that people are going to do that are trying to get you riled up, to get you angry, to inspire some provocation. To really, maybe they're trying to start maybe a physical confrontation or something like that. So really, the best form of revenge could very well be forgiveness. I think that website that stated that, it's a very accurate statement. And really, what happens to what you got to remember is that, I'm somebody that's experienced a lot of wrong in my life directed at me. I've had a number of people take money from me and make little or no effort to pay it back. Some of them may find some ways to justify doing this in order to absolve themselves from the crime, so to speak. Other people are just simply apathetic. Some of them are just flat out losers, and they'll go to their grave being a loser, and that's what they're going to be. Then that's they're content with that, then so be it. I was brought up to have a conscience, And I don't like to do anything malicious towards somebody because I understand how I would feel if though that same thing would be directed at me. If somebody was directing something at me out of malice, I would obviously not appreciate it. And I mean, there are some, and really, what happens too is especially if you've endured a lot of hurt from numerous people, it's harder, I guess, to forgive because you're trying to forgive so many people, and it really can make things, make it difficult. But you have to do it as far as for your own health, your mental health, your physical health, and to really set yourself free, and really because holding anger and suppressing it or unleashing it or however you deal with it, in many instances it's not going to be productive. And the one valuable thing, if you're involved in an experience from somebody that's hurt you, or somebody that hasn't paid you their money that they owe you, for example, what the only a lot of times it's just about learning from the experience and proceeding forward. Now, I'm not saying in an instance like, say, if somebody owes you money, to just lay low and forget about it completely. I mean, you could always take them to small claims court, or maybe it might be a higher court depending on the amount of money that was owed. If somebody damages your vehicle, you definitely, there might be feelings of retribution and you want to seek vengeance on them, but you could also, of course, bring them to court if you know who did the damage. And really, it's just about if you could settle things as peacefully as possible without having to resort to some volatile action or physical violence. And as I stated before, this can wind up leading you into jail and being incarcerated, and then you could be the loser as well as the other person. And really, another thing too is what people don't realize. A lot of times with a lack of forgiveness, and as I stated before about how it can lead to the anger and anxiety and stress, it could exacerbate a pre-existing physical problem you may have. Like, for example, let's say if somebody has some kind of muscle spasms and they have that spastic activity going on. Well, stress can exacerbate those spasms. So it can also it could elevate conditions you may actually have by not forgiving, because it leads to the anger and then the stress and the anxiety, and then it can potentially exacerbate a condition you may already have had before the negative experience in which you're having trouble forgiving. Now, as I stated before, it's easier said than done as far as forgiveness. A lot of times the immediate impulse is to go out and seek vengeance. I recommend you don't do this. Try to be merciful and understand that you don't, something negative happens to you, you learn from it, you move forward. And I'm not saying necessarily that you have to become best buddies with the person and try to be nice to this person that did you wrong, or you may, depending on what was done, in many instances it may be best to just, if this was somebody that was supposedly a friend and the person had continually hurt you, and it's at a point where you feel, well, if you keep reconciling with the person, they're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over to you. You don't want to be a punching bag in the literal or figurative manner, but you can extricate yourself from the situation and leave the person, whether it's platonic or significant other or romantic or what have you. You can, but you could still forgive the person. Doesn't mean you have to have anything to do with that person anymore. Because they may not deserve your friendship or whatever it may be, and that's. But at the same time, you have to at least forgive in your heart, and really work on it. I know some people can do this very easily, and other people have difficulty. I've had difficulty with this. I've had difficulty even forgiving myself in some manner. I remember when my grandfather was alive, God rest his soul, that he was very magnanimous, very generous. He did so much for me, and so did my grandmother. And I look back and I wish I could have done more for them. I think maybe I took their help for granted, and to this day I have regrets on that. And I really, and when someone passes away, you can't do anything about it. But what I know now is that what I have to do is and forgive myself for not maybe being there as strongly for them as they were for me, and learn from that experience and make sure in any, whether it's a friendship or a family situation I may have, by some minuscule chance I ever get a significant other or wife and start my own family, to make sure that I'm loyal and steadfast on my end, and that they're going to be, and that I show that same, I guess you could say, the amount of loyalty and the amount of kindness and benevolence that's shown toward me, and help them out and is equal as they're going to help me out. And I have to really make sure I apply that in the future. And that's another part of forgiveness, is forgiving yourself for maybe, it's not always about iniquitous acts. It's about maybe about not doing something or not taking action at the times maybe you should have, about not showing maybe the support and love that should have been shown at certain times. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this segment about forgiveness. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.